Hey everybody, I'm John Stinson, owner and director of the Recording Conservatory of Austin. Tonight, our guest speaker is Marc McClusky, composer, engineer, mixer, producer, and I'm going to let Marc, tell his story. So, without further ado, Marc, come on up.
Hello. Hi, thanks for having me, guys. Really, I'll just talk a little bit about my story, and then I'll open up for questions from you guys, so it's actually interesting. I started probably the same way most people do. I played in a band. My band, I would go to recording studios and, get stuff back and never sounded the way it sounded in my head. So I figured I would control the knobs. So I just started buying like a 4-track. I remember the first big little device that I got was a Digi 001. I just started learning how to record basically in my parents' house at the time, and recorded my band. And then the recordings that we were doing started sounding better than the studios that the other local bands were going to. So local bands started hiring me. And this was probably 1998 to 2000. So it was a little bit of a different time than where bands would go on tour, right? So there was a dissemination of, you would record an EP and this band would go on an East Coast tour, and then all those other bands that would hear it would go, oh, who did your EP? And then, so it sort of flowered that way. And then I worked with more bands. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and then those bands started getting signed to record labels. And then I worked at Starbucks, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna work at Starbucks anymore. I can make more money doing this than working at Starbucks. So eventually I moved to Chicago in 2005, and that was probably the best move for me, because I met a band called Ludo, who eventually, we did demos, which eventually got him signed to Island Def Jam Records. And another band I had been working with called Farewell got signed to Epitaph. This was probably 2006, 2007. And another record label, so this guy named Johnny Minardi, who's a very dear friend, worked at Fueled by Ramen, which is a big, punk or alternative music label, who's from Chicago, and I met him. So Fueled by Ramen started giving me some records. And again, this is just another side on Johnny, because he's an amazing guy. He's the VP of Atlantic A&R now, so he's just risen up and totally deserves everything he's got. But anyway, so Ludo got signed to Island Def Jam, and there was 2 songs on the first album, maybe 3 songs, I don't remember exactly, that I ended up producing because the label hired this guy named Matt Wallace to produce the label for them. And Matt Wallace did songs about Jane, Maroon 5, and every Faith No More record, and he's just a all-star person and producer. So Matt told the label I don't need to redo these songs, just use these versions, the versions that I did that were their demos on the label, or on the record. So I kept doing my thing in Chicago. Ludo's second, from that band that got signed to Epitaph, I formed a relationship with them. So they started sending me a bunch of their other bands, this band called the Hot Melts that were from England I did, and some other projects that they had. And then Ludo's second record came up, and Matt Wallace and the band wanted me and him to co-produce the record together. So this was 2008. 8 or 9. And so I went out to LA to Sound City, because that's where Matt Wallace's studio was. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sound City. It's an extremely famous recording studio. Dave Grohl did a whole documentary series on it, or a movie on it. So we went out there and made the Ludo record at Matt's studio at Sun City. And Matt basically was telling me, he was like, what are you doing in Chicago? Like, you should move to LA. So I called my wife and I was like, hey, you want to move to LA? And she was like, yeah, let's move to LA. Let's see what happens. All right. So we moved to LA. And again, I know this, it's just like, I'm very fortunate and very lucky, right place, right time, and with the talent, that sort of crossroads. But so we moved to LA. Matt got me his studio. Sound City's like, there's like a bank of studios on one side and then a parking lot, and then like the main A and B room were like, Rumors and Tom Petty, everybody recorded. So my studio was right next to Matt Wallace's. So I started working there, and then because I had that relationship with Brett at Epitaph, within like 2 or 3 weeks of moving to LA, Brett calls me up and he goes, I think I just signed Weezer. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I'm 47, so like Weezer's one of my favorite bands, right? Mm-hmm. So, like the Blue album, I remember when that came out, it just like blew my mind. So I was like, that's amazing. That's really cool. And he's like, do you think you would want to like have a shot at mixing the record? I was like, yeah, of course I would. And he was like, well, it's going to be competitive and like, but here's your shot. Like Brett's an amazing dude. Like he's just an amazing guy. And so I was recording a band. I had him in that time. I would work with him all day, and then all night I would have my shot at Weezer. And I did that for like 3 or 4 days on like literally maybe 2 hours of sleep that week. And fortunately, I played my cards right and I won most of that Weezer record. So after that, I kept getting more opportunities from Epitaph and other labels. And so Weezer did another record shortly thereafter. Oh, another kind of networking thing, which again, I totally agree with you. It's like all about networking. Mm-hmm. And again, being at the right place at the right time has a lot to do with like serendipity. But I met Sound City, because it's Sound City, right? Like, I remember walking into Sound City one day, and you walk down this hallway where all their like plaques are and stuff, and the room where Kurt Cobain recorded Something's in the Way. The couch is like right there. It's like this famous couch in that room. And you walk down the hallway and they got a couple of video games and like a Coke machine. I walked in to go buy a Coke and I opened up the door and it's Bush and Bob Rock just sitting there, and I just like held up $1 and they were like, yeah, go for it. I was like, all right. But anyways, yeah, sorry, total tangential point. So what I was gonna say was, in the parking lot, I met Art Alexakis from Everclear, just randomly. And we started talking, and like I told him, oh yeah, I just mixed this Weezer record. And he's like, well, maybe we should work together. So then like I mixed an Everclear, or some of an Everclear record after that. Again, just serendipity, being in the right place at the right time, and just having to be in a network, right? Mm-hmm. Stayed in LA for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Wasn't our thing for me and Katie. We're like East Coasters, so it wasn't our thing. So we left, we went back to Chicago. In Chicago, again, because Johnny Minardi was there, he managed me for a while he was he actually, I think Fueled by Ramen kind of fell apart, or I don't know the whole thing, but they weren't being worked. So he was working for another label, and he gave me some of that work, just kept kind of going and going and going. And then my wife and I always wanted to move to New York City. So we moved to New York City in 2013 and lived there ever since and loved it. And when I was there, the music industry changed a lot. So I'm really lucky because I got into it super young. Like I can remember doing 2 records on tape, and then everything was Pro Tools. And then I also remember the other side of it, where you would get, for indie, like a good indie budget, you'd get $100,000 to go make a record, and then like within 3 or 4 years, it was like 30, and like
or $5,000.
Yeah, or $5,000, yeah. Like it tailed off a lot, and right when my career was going like this, the music industry was taking a gigantic crap. When I was in New York is an expensive place to be, and you'd think that there would be artists and things everywhere, but nobody really that I could find out there ever really wanted to record, and all my network was basically had moved to LA at that point, right? So like Johnny got the job back at Fueled by Ramen. He moved to LA and then rose up through the ranks there. And another good, it's a good thing to know. A lot of people from at least from what I hear, a lot of people don't like to send artists to New York because it's so expensive. Like unless you're like a top tier artist, it's like if you're trying to develop a band, like you're not going to send them to New York City, right? You're going to send them to Nashville or not even really LA anymore. Really, it's like Nashville. But again, that's just what I hear. People might in the comments might roast me on that, but that's just
for sure.
My experience of it.
Okay.
So I always was into film scoring. I always bought film scores and would listen to that at the gym, and I always because I love music. I don't love punk music or whatever. I love it all. And so I had to do a career pivot and just go, well, if I'm gonna do it, might as well just try to be a composer now and just see if I can actually do this, right? And I started basically learning I went to music school for a hot minute. I didn't graduate or anything. I knew basic theory, nothing crazy. So I just took it upon myself to learn composition and put my head in a book and watch YouTube and learn everything I could about orchestration and composition and study scores. And I own tons of scores. And I would just look at them and just try to learn how they do this. And then I was really fortunate where I met this guy named Robert Miller, who, so I went to the space show at the Natural History Museum, and I liked the music. So I was like, oh, I wonder who did the score for this. So I looked it up, and it's this guy named Robert Miller, and I was searching around, and I couldn't really find a lot of his stuff, but I did find his company and his email address. So I just emailed him, and I was like, hey man, can I take you out to lunch? I'd just love to talk to you about scoring and blah, blah, blah. So I took him out to lunch. We developed a relationship. He was starting a new company, and he was like, I want you to be a producer for me. And a producer, so what he does is his bread and butter is commercials and films, like documentary, a lot of documentary films. So Robert's doing a thing. He wanted me to be a producer for him, and a producer in that sense is not like a music producer. I was his producer where I was producing the job, right? So I was getting my foot in the door in advertising by getting projects in, telling Robert, what the projects were, helping him complete. I wasn't writing anything at that time, just with running the job, right? So that event, he always knew I liked to write music, so eventually that turned into me becoming a composer. And Robert's mentor was Aaron Copland, who is a world-class composer. So I learned by watching Robert and just through that exercise, right, of these things this knowledge you would never get in a book, just because Robert spent his life in front of orchestras, and he's an amazing, brilliant composer, right? He's very, very good at you put an orchestra with this guy and give him a pen and paper, and then you just put it in front of the orchestra, and you're just like, holy cow, that's incredible. So I did that, and then for about 6 or 7 years, and then I eventually wanted to do my own thing, right? I'm very entrepreneurial, I'm a go-getter, right? So I met some people in the industry and decided to start or I didn't start the company. There's a company called Supreme Music that's been around for 16 years, and it's a German-based company. So it's from Berlin and Hamburg. I was friends with those guys. we decided with another person that we wanted to open an American branch, or the United States branch of Supreme Music. So I am a partner in Supreme Music in the United States, and we score music for commercials. And I still work with bands, and I still do all of that. And I just try to like scratch every itch that I can in this, not even just creatively, like in the industry. Like I like to cook too, you know. I'm not very good at it, but I like to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, like one of the things anytime somebody asks me, like, this question is like, you know, do you want to do this or whatever? It's like, my only answer is like, I literally don't want to do this. I like have to do it. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's not, I don't even think about anything other than making stuff. And I don't know how a better way to say it is like, that's the only way I think you will make it in this industry is it's not about drive. It's not about want. It's about like, you literally you can't do anything else. Like, this is just how you're wired. Like, you're just built like this. Because it's like, you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail a lot more than you win. And like, you gotta be the kind of the person to be like, that was great. I'm glad I lost, because now I know what to do next time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you learn from these trips and failures and like build up your thing. And you know, it can be a really rewarding and really frustrating career. But again, it's like, you just have to be built to make things. Like, that's it. Like, you just have to have it in you. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my dumb story. But
nice, man. Congratulations on
thanks.
that, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys care, like, so I grew up as a punk rock dude, right? And I brought, I don't know does this go on the
It
screen?
will.
Okay.
Yeah, we can switch it up.
I just brought a few commercials that we do to show you like where we try to strive to be, where, you know, of course you get the jobs in that are like the tidy bowl or whatever, right? That it's kind of like, right? But we want to do more artful and bring in a craft to commercials. That's sort of like what we like to do. So this is a GE commercial that probably just is coming on the air now. Do I double click? How do I do this?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Is that it?
Yep, there you go.
So.
For most of us, imagination in flight begins with a sheet of paper, a couple folds, and a simple throw. But for some, the exhilaration and wonder behind flight never fades. At GE Aerospace, imagination is more than just the first step. It's the foundation of everything we do. And how each generation turns what-ifs into what's next. Because when the right idea catches the wind, there's no limit to how far we could go.
So like, I'll just
Nice.
share, yeah, thanks. I'll just share two things and this has a point. You know, so there's that, and then this.
Refreshingly curious.
Right? So like punk rock, crazy psychedelic 70s, and then like Game of Thrones full on score.
Strings,
okay? That's what you gotta learn how to do. If you really wanna be like, and I'm not even like a pinnacle guy, you know what I mean? But like, that's like, you gotta learn everything you can about music, because the second that you don't know, the guy that comes in and goes, I want to do this, and you don't know how to do it at a really high level, he's going to go to the guy that can. Sure. And that's that's sort of my philosophy is like, conquer, you know, like if you're going to do it, do it. like 100%.
So are you doing the, just a little curiosity.
Sure.
Are you doing the obviously the, like the crumples and the sound effect stuff?
So
are you doing any of the mixing, or is it all just comp?
So I just, like, my role is just composition. So I'm
nice.
scoring it and then orchestrating it and then whatever, producing it on that side of it. But yeah, sound design, that's a, different section of what our company does.
It is funny that I know a few different big composers, and people that are doing, all kinds of stuff, games, everything, films. And that just relatively uneducated musicians, didn't go to school, didn't
exactly,
score things. I actually went to UT and got a degree in guitar and almost did composition.
That's awesome.
But guys that came, just musicians, and then learned how to score over time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's not easy to score stuff properly. Right?
Yeah, and like I was touching on this earlier with Nick, I think, is like again, this is going to be like super nerdy and like way over people's heads if you're not into like this kind of stuff, but like just learning like an overtone series and how to make an orchestra speak just takes like, it's not like just playing like a couple of chords. It's like how you arrange it makes that power, and that's how you make people feel stuff. I love it. Clearly, I love it. I mean, it's an endless rabbit hole, and I'm sure my spectrumness lets me go down it very far. Yeah.
Well, do you want to open it up some questions? Does anybody have some stuff? I know I have a couple, but
anything. What I had for dinner.
I'm curious about Weezer stuff too. Like when you did the post-production mixing stuff, what did you mix on at the time and things like that? Okay,
so at that time I had there's a Shadow Hills box called the Equinox. So it's like their summing mixer, and I like that. So when I was in Chicago, I basically was rented out a studio basically full time that had an SSL 4000 5060. I can't remember. It was like a 4000. It was basically like a 4K console.
Right.
It was a 56 channel. So that's where I mixed like a lot of stuff. Oh, and the automation was busted on. So everything was, you stand here, move it at this time.
So you weren't mixing it in Pro Tools or doing some pieces?
Yeah, little bits. So this is pre-Weezer. This is just a preamble. So when I did the Weezer stuff, that was, the mix, the Shadow Hills Equinox. And the reason why I like that is because of the SSL. When you push into a mix bus on like analog consoles, like when you start to see the little red like clipping light come on, especially on drums and stuff, like you're probably just starting to get like a nice sound. Like you kind of push into it, and like Pro Tools, you can't like push into Pro Tools. It just doesn't work. No. So I like the summing mixer because it had. You can drive it, and then it had 2 preamps on the front, which was like the bus, and you could crank those up. So you could even clip the mix bus even more, right? You guys know when you print a mix, right? You guys know what crest level is? Like, when you see like a really high peak, right? And then, then the fatness and then another big peak, right? When you look at really great mixes, right? Like from anybody, right? Those peaks are squished in, right, before limiting. And if they're doing it by clipping or they got plugins now that you can kind of emulate it in, but you're just slamming it. So it's bending the peaks back into it. And what it's doing is instead of getting those like things that hurt your ear, you're rounding those transients. Yeah. So you're getting a fatter sound, right? But it still has the impact 'cause it's not compression. It's how it squishes into it. But so I had that box, I had my massive passive, I had a couple of Rosetta converters, Apogee Rosetta.
We had Apogee for a long time.
Yeah, and then a few choice pieces of outboard gear. I had like 2 LA3As, 2 distressors. I think I had a vac rack at that time.
Were you playing from Pro Tools?
Yeah. So I would do like preliminary mixing stuff in Pro Tools, And then, the Summit mixer didn't have faders, so you had your balance in there. And then whatever choice gear I wanted on the outside, it would be like the last part in the chain to give it that color or whatever. And then so I did it on that. And then once I got those mixes in a good spot, I remember we went down to Red Bull Studios in Santa Monica, and we monitored the mixes there, and they had this SSL. What is it? K? What's the new one? J? I don't remember the new ones.
Yeah.
Not a Duality, whatever the one before that is. And then we did that, but we didn't do any mixing there. It was more of just like a listening session. But yeah, I just mixed it on what I had, which was not a lot of stuff, but not nothing.
Sounds like it worked.
Yeah.
Did the job. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and I had an API 2500 on the bus that I changed the op amps in.
Okay.
For this guy I met, this guy named Will, who's awesome, was like, yeah, you got to change the op amps in that. It'll give it some more color. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. So what else? Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah.
When you're making those commercials, once you're done with the composition and you get to the production stage, do you hire session musicians or do you use software instruments or a little bit of both?
Okay, so the Hendrix commercial was 100% all software for the strings and everything. The guitars I played.
Was that the second one?
Yeah, the second one, yeah. And then the other one, the GE commercial, was everything was fake except for the lead violin. We just had a player play that.
It sounded amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's if you learn, again, if you learn orchestration right already, that's doing like 90% of the job. And then once you get that done, it's the modulating, making the samples sing. Right. And yeah, I would have brought a session if people were interested in that. We can do something else here if you want to do something like that.
Sure. So what sample library bank, what are you using?
It depends.
Or is it just different stuff?
Yeah, it's all different because, you have a baked in sound. So it's like you might buy a sample library for, a tiny chamber sound, right? Because you can't, if you have your big orchestral thing on like some emotional thing, it's going to be way too lush and too many players on a note that's not going to feel right. So you kind of just do, you buy like 12 string libraries and you use it that one time when you need it. But that's kind of, but Spitfire, great. Orchestral tools have some great stuff.
Yeah, the Spitfire thing's pretty amazing. So it's kind of crazy.
It is. Yeah, the stuff you can do. And now again, like with like Splice, you guys are familiar with Splice? Yeah. So, Splice just bought Spitfire.
And, they bought them? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. And, all these companies are the AI companies now. So they're buying these sample companies so they can train their AI on their millions of samples, literally millions of samples they have of all these orchestral instruments. So the next thing that'll come out is it won't be samples, it'll be AI that literally generates the note when you start to play it, and how you play, it'll know that you want staccato or spiccato or whatever you want.
Wow.
That's the next thing that's coming for sure.
Okay.
It's gonna be nuts. And like all these sample libraries, that's so we can touch on this too, is like because everything is becoming so homogenized and like we can all go on Splice right now and get a snare sample, and there is a chance that we can have the same snare sample, right? So how are you differentiating yourself as an artist, as a producer, than everybody else when all you're doing is using exactly the same sounds that everybody else is doing?
Sure.
So I think it's really important to of course it saves time and stuff like that, but if you can, maybe even if it's just a layer and you really, really like the way this one kick drum sounds, go grab like a trash can and bang it and stick it in there, and now at least it's your kick drum. You know what I mean? Like, however you want to be creative like that, but it's really important because, listen to like, and again, I sound like an old man or whatever, but like, listen to like even rock records, anything right now where it's all amp sims, they're all using the same drum samples. You take the vocals out of it and they could be the same band. Like it doesn't sound like anything anymore. It just sounds like that particular piece of technology. Which is fine, great, embrace technology, but be you. That's the one thing that, like, I can't remember the name of it or the words, but there's this Japanese saying where they have this thing where like, don't be the thorn that sticks out on a board, right? Because that's part of their culture. And it's like, do not be that. Be the thorn that sticks out on the thing. If everybody is zigging, zag. And because eventually people are going to be like, that zag doesn't sound like any of this, and I want to do that. And that's how you do it. It's like, be you, and nobody else can do that. Nobody else can be you except you. Yeah. And that's your superpower.
If it scares you a little bit, it's probably good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Like when you're uncomfortable and you're like, this sucks, it's probably good because you haven't heard it before. You got to figure out how to make it great. But there's something there.
All right, we got another question.
Yeah, please. Hi, thanks for speaking.
Sure.
Yeah, I have two questions. I would love to hear about a time you failed, and then
man.
You spoke about it just now, but yeah, the medium is the message. I'm wondering how that's changed for you over the course of your career. You're saying like banging on a trash can.
Yeah.
That's part of the message right there. I'm curious how that's kind of progressed for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I fail every day, you know. I mean, especially in working with advertising, you know, you fail 99.
You failed forward.
Yeah, you fail forward. Like you learn, right, from your mistakes and you see what didn't work and why it didn't work, right? Because everybody has a bias, right? Like I'm a very, like, as you guys can probably tell, my personality is very like, right? So like I make music that's very and that doesn't mean a spot with a crying mother for some, you know, emotional thing that some brand wants to do. That does not require So I have to fight myself to like, no, don't do that. Like, don't do that, right? So I fail constantly in certain avenues, but I learn from those failures and go, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have had those horns come in. Like, you know what I mean? And you just learn. You just do it, right? And learn how to step away from yourself and observe yourself as somebody else, which is really hard to do as a different person, like the client or however you want to look at it.
Objective.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second part of your question was how have things changed?
Yeah. Well, with technology, with software being so available, it's hard to differentiate. I'm a big believer in the medium being the message, and I'm sure that's changed being a recording, mixing composer.
Yeah, I can give you an example right now, right over here.
Okay.
Like everybody in this room, if I go like this, you're gonna feel something. Okay? I'm gonna use the same note and you're gonna feel something completely different. Right? So play with your textures. What emotion are you trying to convey to somebody? Am I trying to be stoic and being like, oh, okay, something's happening? Or am I trying to be like alarmist and go, oh my God, something's happening, right? And all I did was change the texture on the same exact note. So if you can do that and amplify it through a song or an idea, you don't need a lot of notes. You just need the right texture and the right notes, right? So if you can kind of like play with that, and when you're in synths, that is a texture, but then you're limited to the palette that it allows you to have. When you're in 3 dimensions, you can find things that are a texture. You know what I mean? A thing that makes you feel something, right? Like this makes everybody here feel something, regardless of what that is, right? Creepy, might be a creepy thing. It might be nice because it feels like, oh, I'm being like soothed, right? But that's a texture. Now, how can I use that in a musical expression? Because that's what music is, right? It's a language that everybody can understand if it's spoken well. Does that kind of answer your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. All right, I have an online question.
Okay.
Do you have any favorite mixing methods that you apply to everything, or all your mixes, or favorite gear or something that you use?
Yeah. So I have a 1608 API console, which I love, and I have it loaded with the EQs that I like on whatever instruments, and every instrument.
How many channels is it?
It's 16.
Okay,
so
it's 16. Yeah.
It's technically a 30. It's 16 faders and then 4 stereo faders. So it's 24 channels, and however you want to do it in 8 bus. Right. So I think technically you can get 32 in if you want, but I basically mix it into 24 channels. Right. So I hit that a certain way to get the color that I want out of the console, and then I have my outboard gear. Like I have massive passive again that just lives on my mix bus. I have an API 2500, not the one that had the other op amps in it, a newer one. The C2 Allen Smart, which is like an SSL clone. I think the story is he invented the SSL or worked on that the bus compressor in that console. And then I've got a couple of distressors, Fatso, a Manley ELOP, a couple of 1176s, and I use those as like my color palette of choice. And every mix usually goes through, 90% of the time is that Allen Smart and the massive passive and the API, and it's again like mixing. And it's funny, I had a conversation with a friend a few weeks ago that's into production, is like a lot of people just like kind of like put the stuff on the board and they're like, yeah, it's mixed. And it's like, yeah, I haven't mixed anything. You just kind of got it set up, right? So now you got to bring the song to life. Like nobody wants to like what's the fun in, being on this smooth crystal lake, right? Like that's fun if you want like a silly, easy ride, but you want to be in choppy water because it's fun, if you're like jet skiing or whatever, right? So make it choppy, like find those moments that make people feel something, right? And like make it maybe a little bit more exaggerated than you think it should be, because you're going to hear it, but you got to make sure other people hear it. And that's the trick, is like, people get so hyper focused on, they know, your song, all of it, right? Nobody else does. So you're hearing things that nobody else is hearing. So the parts that you want people to hear, you got to make sure they're going to hear it. So make your song come to life. Like at the end of a vocal, don't leave something, like if there's nothing happening, like you got an opportunity to turn up the bass or turn up the synth or the guitar or whatever it is, right? So the song has like a life to it, and it kind of like ebbs and flows and does something, like here's a great exercise for you guys. Go listen to the Johnny Cash version of Hurt. Yeah. And if you've never noticed it before, listen to it through this lens. And the verses, okay, you can hear, like when he starts singing the what have I become, right? Like you hear them pushing up the faders really slowly, and the song feels like it's coming at you, and literally they push it up so hard it starts to distort and clip, and then they pull them right back down the next verse, and then the song starts to come at you again, and like that's why it feels so haunting. It's like this freaking monster, like just slowly, death or whatever you want to think it is, just slowly creeping up on you the entire song, and it has a real impact.
I remember when they first came out with that, they played it on rock radio because it was just that, rocking.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's an amazing version of that song, for sure.
Yeah, super awesome. Who else? Does anybody else have a question? What you got?
Favorite composers?
Oh, me? Oh, Alan Silvestri. Period. Like, I love his.
Tell us about Alan, because I don't know anything about.
So Alan got his start on chips in the 70s. Okay. I don't want to misquote his story, but from what I remember, what I understand is like him and his wife were pregnant with their first kid. He was completely broke and he didn't know what he wanted to do, and he got a royalty check from BMI for like $10K or something like that for something that he did. And he was like, honey, I'm gonna go spend this entire $10,000 on like a 4-track and some synth in the 80s, right? And a drum machine, like a Linn drum or something, right? He blew all his money, made a bunch of demos. I mean, of course, he had the network where he was able to like give it to the right people, and then like he got chips, and literally like everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
So some iteration of that. So, and then he does Back to the Future, Romancing the Stone, Predator, which is a really, really cool score. It's all in 7/8 and really weird. The Avengers, that's the most recent stuff that he would have done. But yeah, I mean, like his, again, language, right? His harmonic language he's not John Williams, right? Where John Williams is like corn gold, like he's very traditional. Alan Silvestri, the way he uses like the Lydian mode is really amazing. Like that dun dun dun, like that's Lydian, like just how that flat 4 right there. I mean, it's like sharp 4, but yeah, it's the just how his language really hits me in the feels, as they say. Yeah.
Yeah, Danny Elfman's always the one that just like I'm like, whoa.
I love Danny Elfman. Yeah. Yep. I had to do a Danny Elfman style thing like last week on a project. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. Do you guys remember Tales from the Crypt? Yeah, for the HBO. Like he did the theme for that, and like it's that era of Danny Elfman where he was just like on fire with like Batman, Beetlejuice, all that stuff, and like that just falls right in that line. He of course he's an artist, he's going to develop, but that theme is it's really that fun Danny Elfman horror. I love it.
And black and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So who else? Yep, we got one in the back.
So if you were starting over today,
Yep.
and was looking at spending your money wisely or whatever,
Mhm.
what's the first top 3 or so things that you would look at and invest in?
Okay, so my question would be, what do I want to do? So what would you want to do?
Like mixing, mastering, and recording, in that.
In what genre?
Oh, okay. Rock, more like rock.
Okay, so I would go, if it was me, I would move to Nashville. And you're going to get a lot of country, but a lot of LA people are moving there. I'm probably going to move there in the next couple of years. We moved here because my wife's job took us here, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I would move to Nashville. It's not about gear. Again, it's about your creativity, right? Ask yourself this: would you hire me, right, if you walked in and I had all the gear you ever wanted, right? Or would you hire me if you and I were sitting in a room and I was like, hey, you know what you should do there? This would be really cool. And then it was really cool. Which one would you hire? That guy, right? So just come up, be creative. Like study music, study why you like things, why other people like things, right? Like, again, like music is a language, right? So you're able to speak with it, and Bach figured it out. At least like we'll collectively agree that he figured it out because we buy the things that he came up with. So learn that language, and then how to tell somebody how to feel a certain way. And then that's it. If you're very good at telling people how to feel without speaking a word, you're gonna do all right.
Cool. Who else? Is it up to me? Oh, wait, here we go.
Do you have like a dream project you'd like to work on, like before the end of your career?
Oh yeah, coffee shop. Yes.
Coffee shop?
Yeah.
What is it?
No. He's talking about music. I'm just saying I would like to own a coffee shop.
You can play all the music.
Exactly. Yeah. A dream project. I don't know. I would love to. Like, I'm a nerd, so I grew up with Marvel, the books and everything. So if I could score a Marvel movie, I'd be like, this is pretty good. This would be a fun time. Yeah, it's not even about money or it's just literally I like superhero movies. I really do. I love that culture. So I just want to do that. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, who else? Okay, we got one.
What would you call the coffee shop?
Oh, I already have it figured out. It would be called Wax Coffee, and it would be a vinyl record store with little listening stations and a really cool coffee shop. It's exactly what it'd be.
You'd have all those together.
Yeah. And if I see that pop up in Austin, you can go ahead and pay me.
Well, it might. You've got people all over the country, so it could pop up in some
That's
other
true.
city somewhere. Well, cool. Okay, so I'm going to ask my last question. And you almost stole my last question. It was close. Because I was like, oh, no, he's going to ask my same question. But I'm going to ask one last question. As we always kind of end with this every time a little bit. But yeah, so imagine you are brand new, 19 years old, 20, 21, and you're just getting started, right? You know, what would your best advice for that person, you know, what do they do?
So what I would do today in that scenario is I would find my niche, right? Because you're going to do better in your specialty than try to be a jack of all trades, regardless of what I've said earlier about everything, right? That's where you're going to find your start. And I would get with ChatGPT and I would say, this is my niche. What are the demographics of that niche? Give me all their habits, all their basically marketing research on what your target audience is, right? I would start social media first. I would target their interests and everything, and try to collect a community. And through that community, you'll get hired, but you're not catering to it. And nobody needs another music tutorial. Like, they don't. Like, I started this, because you get busy in whatever life, but I have like one little thing on YouTube. It's called Record, Eat, Repeat. And I wanted to make music tutorials for people, but everybody does music tutorials. So my music tutorials, again, nerd, are scored, they are horror themed, and I cook halfway through it.
That's great.
Because I found that most musicians like cooking food, right? It's something about that we all like to cook. So that's a way I could grab a demographic of people. I could share multiple types of content. There's gonna be people that are like, stop cooking, just show me like the freaking compressor. And then there's gonna be people that are like, I like that recipe, stop showing me audio. But now I'm branching out to finding other audiences to do it, right? And it's not about getting work or anything. For me, it's really about sharing knowledge and, again, making stuff. I just have this thing where I just want to make stuff. That's it. So be weird, be you. Again, be only the thing that nobody else can get anywhere else unless they come to you. And then drill down on it and find the other people like you. Find your tribe, your community, your whatever way you want to say it. Right? Like, again, I'll just leave it with this. Like, I came up in a time and in a scene that doesn't quite exist anymore, or I'm old, and both might be a little true. But like in the punk rock community, right? It wasn't competition. It was like, oh, they got signed, and they would be like, dude, come on tour with us. You know, it was collective, and like everybody sort of like, if one person got big, everybody got big, right? So that's the thing, is you find your community and your like-minded people, and that's how you grow it. It doesn't matter if it's 4 people. That's fine. That's your audience, right? Because it's you. Maybe it's your Taylor Swift and it happens to be the world, right? That'd be great, but that's her, right? So just accept who you are and be unabashedly you. I guess it's the best way I can say it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. I was just getting a text from Ben. I don't know if there's another question, but thank you so much.
No, thank you guys.
Okay, cool. Everybody out there, thanks for coming. Thank you, Mark.
Of course.
And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Be safe.